Good morning, my mates. How you going? Hope the week's going well. I mean, you're on Wednesday already, so it's Tuesday for us. Anyway, um, yeah, okay, so pretty sort of chilled weekend. I heard it was really hot again as well. So just two sort of separate 9 hours, low intensity, just getting out there, so that's fine. And obviously, no shanks is great. Um, so we want to kind of keep that, obviously, keep that confidence at like 3 weeks in a row now where no shanks are starting to hit the ball correctly again. We know why and we're doing the work. So I want to keep that, but now start working a little bit on the swing path. Right. What I sort of want you to understand, okay, is how sort of the depth, the arm depth on the backswing, and then the sequence, which obviously we learned last year, in terms of hips firing first and sort of slingshotting that energy through the body, how that then affects the downswing path. Okay, all right. So that's why we do loop to loop, right? So if we get sort of a little deep, now we know maybe it's a little bit on the heels, maybe it's a bit too much right hip sometime, maybe it's not quite enough hinging, it doesn't really matter. But if we get too deep here, we can't really hit the ball. So if we change direction correctly, which is fire the hip, okay, actually your arms are going to go this way. So obviously the path and the posture is going to be an issue, but the shank is going to likely to come in, and that's kind of where it snuck back in. All right, so that is why we do L to L, so we can set the club. Yeah, but it's also why we do loop to loop, so that we're training the arms to work slightly on this direction. Okay, now theoretically, the arms should kind of work on exactly the same path, but a lot of really, really good players do change their arm depth just a little bit. Okay, obviously Rory McIlroy being the biggest or most famous one. Okay, he does a little hip slide to change his arm depth. And that's how he does it. Okay, there's very few that loop the other way. I mean, Victor Hovland did, and then he went off for 2 years to go and change it. Okay, and obviously came back recently with a more neutral arm path. The club head, however, does definitely loop from there to there. Okay, so that's kind of, we'll figure out what's exactly right for you. But a little, and I said this last week, I think it was last week, a little loop for you is probably your sweet spot. Okay, because of your height and your length of your arms and the speed of your arms versus your body. So a little bit of a loop is probably your sweet spot. That's going to be able to make you go backswing, shift into the slot, turn your hips to square the face. Okay, so just kind of have an idea. It's not that you feel any of that when you're swinging, but just understand how it works. Okay, so that's how it works, right? So that's why loop to loop is so important to us. But we're getting to a place now, obviously, where the shanks have gone away, so we can get back to work on the really sort of high level important stuff. And now we can start figuring out our swing path, okay, without the shanks coming back. Okay, because obviously we don't want to sort of manipulate the swing path on the way down, lose this right leg and hit the shank from the inside. Okay, it's actually more unlikely. Yours is more this one. Okay, but it can happen. Right. Anyway, so not to overcomplicate it. Again, I don't want you thinking about it when you're in the golf course. Just know what we're trying to do, or understand at least what we're trying to do. Okay, so starting off L's to L's. Okay, very, very important for our hinge and our arm depth. Okay, but also obviously important for our short game. Okay, L to L, ball under the feet. Ball under the feet, important for our posture and not over-rotating that right hip and right knee. Okay, so just a little L to L's to warm up. Very, very neutral, narrowish stance, ball in the middle, L shape. Little L shape. Okay, I'd like to sort of see that. Okay, you can start coming off the back heel with these L to L's, yeah? Okay, so naturally, just kind of hitting it naturally, right? Okay, so that is our warm-up. Okay, then first drill is loop to loop. As I said, very important to us. You were doing loop to loops not this week, but last week, right? You know what I mean by last week, because obviously our scheduling has changed. But you did some sort of pronounced in the beginning loop to loops, sort of. All right, and then you did some more subtle loop to loops, where it was almost, it might have felt a little bit outside, but it was almost a straight backswing, tiny little loop, and then rotate square. That's what I want. Okay, so do some pronounced loop to loops, and then just some little ones. Just a little loop to loop. Still a draw. Okay. kind of figure out where our sweet spot is. And also real versus feel. Like what is a big loop to you? Like it's easy for me to look at the video and say, but what is it to you, and what's a subtle one to you? Okay, and then this is important. Okay, so we're doing some swing path drill with wedge under the right heel. Okay, so you can do it either with tees or balls or whatever it is. Okay, but the correct swing path is sort of quite wide, little bit inside, square, inside. That's the correct arc that we want. Okay, so either tees or balls. I'm going to do balls. Okay, so we want balls right outside the quarter of an inch outside the heel, toe, sorry, back there. Okay, let's put it somewhere where we've got enough room. Okay, and that thing is about sort of 6 inches behind the golf ball I'm hitting. Okay, and then this one is just inside the hosel and about 6 inches in front. That's a bit generous, but a little. Okay, so you can put tees there, upright like that, or balls. Okay. Right, club under the right heel. Okay, and then so if I get out there a little bit, then obviously I'm going to nick that one. Okay, if I get away with it and go there, then I'm definitely going to hit this inside one. Okay, so it's in, square, in, without sliding the hip and knee and losing that club. Okay, so into in. Okay, and what did you notice? Okay, drop that after impact. Okay, now you can do a few where you don't drop it, so 2 or 3 when you just sort of keep it there. Okay, but I want it to start releasing at or after impact. Okay, right, so normal sort of hard work, get our arm depth, get our set correct, get our balance points correct, but now we're starting to add swing path with the downswing posture. Okay, might be greedy, might be. We can only see how it goes. Okay, obviously, I think the plan is that you will practice Friday sort of evening with these drills, and then I'll review them again so you have any chance to make any adjustments before and hit a few more before we play on Saturday. Okay, mate, thank you very much. Have a good week. I'm sure I'll chat to you during the week. All right, keep up the good work.